morning, everyone, and welcome to Mass Appeal on this Tuesday morning. I'm Ashley Cole.
I'm Seth Stutman, and I'm hungry.
You are always hungry.
I'm always hungry. That's because we have good food and good friends doing it. We're talking baked apples today. And here's the thing. It's an apple, so you could eat it for breakfast, right?
Right. Anytime.
Anytime.
Really?
Breakfast, lunch, dinner, here to show us how to make them. Personal chef Bill Collins, chefbill.com. Always a pleasure to see you.
It's great to be here. And today, not only are we just doing apples, we're starting out with baked apples.
Oh,
and the
yes.
Apples and all the great ingredients came from the folks at Whole Foods in Hadley.
Very cool, thank you.
It is, and thank you very much. And we have, starting out with just a couple of apples. You can do as many as you can squeeze in there. It's not dependent on size. If you have a lot of people, you can do a lot of apples.
But you do want them to be all of a similar size.
Exactly. I brought that one in for show and tell.
That's not the right way to do it.
That's not the right way to do it, only because that's going to take a lot longer. So you might want to do it in a separate dish if all of your apples aren't the same size. Now, what kind of apple do you want to use? Any kind of firm baking apple.
I just choked on my coffee, I'm sorry.
I just didn't want to say. I didn't know if the idea of fresh fruit was bothering you.
Wait, so now what kind of apples did you get for this?
We've got, I just forgot.
McCown?
Thank you.
Is that
McCown
right?
apple.
A
Yeah.
McCown, yes.
McCown.
It's funny because I've had so many apples in my brain. I'm going to say Golden Delicious, but they're obviously not. Because the Golden Delicious is my favorite apple, but we're going with these today. So you want to go with a good baking apple because you don't want it to turn to mush. It's going to cook enough and, as it is. But now, here's what you want to do. First of all, you want to take a paring knife and carefully scoop out the center seed parts. Now, here's the thing. Take your time. Don't try and do it all in one fell swoop, and just kind of slowly turn and dig it out. Some people like to use a melon baller. I generally don't. So you don't want to go all the way down, but if you accidentally go all the way down, that's okay too.
You want to try it, Ashley?
I don't try the big
There we
one.
go.
You're going to hit
There
me
we
that
are.
huge knife. Okay. So, you don't have to worry about getting everything.
Exactly.
Okay. So you said I don't know how to pronounce it. McCowan?
McCown, but there's other ones. You can use the Rome Beauty, Jonah Delicious, Jonah Gold.
Jonah Gold, Northern Spy. There's just so many apples that work well.
And it's the tail end of apple picking season, so you can still go out this weekend, grab some apples.
Exactly.
I did it last weekend.
So now you'll see, notice how the difference between these two, yours is prettier, but this is kind of cockeyed. So what I would recommend you do is just kind of cut a little bit off the bottom so it'll sit nice and evenly
But that's not going to make it
Ah.
mushy, right? That's not going to make it
No,
fall in and of
because you
itself.
see there's still plenty of room in the bottom. I didn't cut all the way through. I just want to take one last little bit of seed out. So that way it sits up evenly and also will present much more nicely when you go to put it on the plate. So there, you any kind of a vessel you want. And now I've already mixed up all the mix-ins. You can go whatever you want in here. The key ingredients that you want are brown sugar, because that's what makes everything great, and cinnamon, because cinnamon is such a fall New Englandy flavor.
And it's good for you, too.
It
so
is.
Why not?
The health benefits, you see, they cancel out the brown sugar.
Yes.
Yeah, they do. Now, what else do you have there? More than just cinnamon and brown sugar.
Right, I've got walnuts, recipe that's on the Mass Appeal website. It calls for pecans. Any kind of nut is fine, or if there's a nut allergy, you can skip that altogether. Also, I've got some raisins and dried cranberries, because cranberries, again, the whole apple pie thing. And
Oh,
so,
nice.
And then some butter.
and then some butter, just a little bit. You don't need that much, because actually 1 tablespoon of butter will take care of 4 apples. So in this case, not even a quarter of a tablespoon of butter goes on top.
Could you put oats in there if you wanted to make it real apple crispy, apple crumble?
You know what I tend to do with my oats? The answer is yes, absolutely. But what I do is I take my oats, I've got a separate container of oats, I grind them up in a food processor. So they're almost dust-like, almost like flour, because that way, sometimes when the oats, they just bake and there's not enough moisture in there, they have a tough texture. This way, they're going to integrate in with everything, and you're going to get that oaty flavor.
That's brilliant.
With a nicer texture. So you absolutely can do that in there, and that's also going to help with the mouthfeel as well. And now, just before you put it in the oven, just put a little bit of boiling water in the bottom, and so that's going to also help steam it a little bit. You don't have to put a lid on it, you don't have to put a cover or foil over it, and that'll also help things cook more quickly and moisten them up.
I already know I'm going to love it with that hunk of butter on top.
And
Oh,
again,
it's gonna be
it's
so
not
good.
that much butter either. Quarter of a
Perfect.
tablespoon, it's a great way to go. easier than an apple pie, and an apple pie is easy, this is even easier.
Oh, I can do this. Apple pie, I don't know about that, but this. But maybe your apple cake that we're going to learn how to make later.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is definitely such a great way to do it. A little different from a pie, so you get the whole fresh apple thing in a cake.
Yeah, see, you have all those apples. Now we're going to tell you what to do with them.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that apple cake recipe. Thanks, Chef Bell.
Thank you.
We're back, and we're back with personal chef Bill Collins from chefbill.com. Now we're making an apple cake.
We are making an apple cake, and what I've done is I've taken the first part. I've already put all the cake parts together, the batter, because that's actually the easy part, and it's just a matter of following the recipes. But there are 2 steps you want to pay attention to. One of them is the dough. The batter is very dense. So and you don't need much of a layer. That's why I really wanted to show this. I say in the recipe, which is on the Masterskill website, that spread it with a metal spatula, because a plastic one, it tends to stick.
Oh.
So this way, just kind of spread it out a little bit more like that, and it's very straightforward, because this is very unusual for a cake recipe, and I didn't want people to put this in and go, wait a minute, this isn't quite right.
Right, because it should just like pour in, right?
Exactly.
Imagine.
Now, what's in it that makes it do this?
It just is very dense. There's a lot of flour, and instead of having butter, we've got oil and some vanilla and 4 eggs. And so it rises enough, because a lot of eggs in there and baking powder, but it starts out very dense and then picks up. But now here's the other step, and Ashley, you might want to help me out here.
Sure.
Is just layering in the sliced apples. Now you do want to slice these thinly, because think of like a layer of icing in a cake, and it's not a big, heavy, thick layer, it's a thin layer. So you just want to put this in nice and thinly all around, and you cover the whole thing. There are plenty of apples.
Oh,
and you're going to be doing this twice. Oh yeah, don't worry, I've got more apples here. Now, I've got the apples here. Since you always do them a little bit ahead of time, even if it's just minutes, you put them in a water with acid, meaning, in this case, lemon juice. If you don't have any lemons, you can use cider vinegar or white vinegar. But the lemons also give it a little bit more of a lemony flavor.
Did you dilute that at all?
Yes, what I do, that's not just lemon juice. I fill that's almost all water, and I just squeezed in a couple of lemons.
Oh, I
just
gotcha.
a squirt.
So just a bit. As you can see, those that are at the surface, they start a little brown, but underneath, they're not brown at all.
And that's why, moreover than the lemony flavor, you put the lemon juice in there to preserve it so they don't turn brown on you.
Exactly. So now the next step is we're going to be putting in, I've got some cinnamon sugar here.
Yes, please.
And this first layer actually gets a half of it. So this is going to be getting 3 tablespoons of it, almost a quarter of a cup, just across the top here.
That smells so good.
It does. You know, there's nothing quite like cinnamon. And so that goes on rather heavily. Now here's the part I really wanted to emphasize and to show everybody, because again, we're going to be putting a dense, thick layer of cake batter on here, not that thick, because we're just putting it on in thirds. But again, we have to be careful not to disrupt too much all the apples we've just put in here.
That's tricky.
See, it's not as tricky as it sounds, but here's why I like to tell people just to be aware of this, because if you're not aware of it, you're going to come to this and say, wait a minute, this is just not working and is moving all the apples around.
And that's why you're here to show us on TV.
Exactly. That's why. It's the perfect show and tell. But again, that's why for some reason a metal spatula works so much better than a rubber one or a plastic one. And if you move the apples around a little bit, no big deal. But you just don't want to move them a ton.
Okay.
And so if this is too thick, and it sometimes is, just use a thinner spatula. And
Right,
and you're really just moving around gently. It's not going to take hours, but you don't want to rush through this step.
And at the end of the day, even if it's not perfect, it just makes one small part of the cake, and it's going to taste great anyway.
It's going to taste great. It's going to look great. But the thing is, I like to tell people about this step is, even though it's all going to look great and taste great, you don't want to get frustrated in this part, because you want to come back and do it again. And so if you take your time and you know what's going to come up, meaning the very thick, dense batter, you can say, that's fine. As opposed to people think, what have I done wrong? Cake batter isn't like this. So this way, and you see, that didn't take long at all.
No, but I like that we were taking our time in doing it.
Exactly, and that's why, because, you know, as I like to say, cooking isn't always easy, but it doesn't have to be difficult. So this way,
It's always somewhere in the middle.
well, it's usually on the easier side, but with something like this way, you know, okay, this is a step I have to pay attention to.
I like best that you are doing it and I get to try it.
Well, you get to try some, and it's such a great cake, and you know, it goes in a bundt pan, so it's easy to remove. and it's just the greatest, simplest cake in the world. Now it's going to be another layer. So I've got the towel. I almost said tower. Got the towel here just to dry these off because you don't want to put wet apples into there. And
How many layers overall are we going to be doing?
There's going to be 2 layers of apples, 3 layers of cake batter.
So we're doing 1 more apple layer, 1 more cake layer, and calling it a day.
Exactly.
And then we pop it in the oven at what temperature?
It goes
and
in
for
at
how long?
375, and now this will take about an hour or so. And you want
because the dough is so thick?
It's very dense, and so because that's exactly it. Because it's so dense, it's not a light, airy cake, and it needs time to be in there to rise. You've got the baking powder and the eggs in there, which are the great risers of the world, make things rise up. So you just kind of layer these in like that, and that's why it takes an hour. You test it with either a bamboo skewer or a paring knife or a cake tester or a toothpick, and it needs to come out clean. And that's just like any other kind of baking, and you just layer this around here just like that.
It is very simple. It's just the batter, apples, cinnamon, sugar.
Yeah, and that's it. And it does take, it's not a quick throw it together in 5 minutes. This will take you probably a good 20, 25 minutes anyway to put everything together, because you've got the different components, peeling and chopping, cutting the apples, and then you've got putting the batter together. A stand mixer as opposed to a hand mixer goes much faster because, as you see, it is a dense batter.
Well, if someone makes you an apple cake, know that there was a lot of love put into that, because it's not an easy thing to put together. But
this one is this one is well worth a little bit of extra effort. It's a little different, and it's just so flavorful.
I can't wait to try it.
Now, if everybody at home, they weren't watching earlier, we made baked apples. Those are fantastic. So we're going to eat those, try them at the end of the show. We're also going to be trying this at the end of the show.
Yep, absolutely.
Fantastic. Welcome back to Massapil. We're back for Chef Bill Collins. End of the show, and what better way to finish?
I just got back from prom.
Yeah, so nothing like a piece of cake after you get back from the prom to settle in the evening.
I don't know if this dress will fit after a piece of cake, but I'm still willing to try.
We shall try. So we have the apple cake. All these recipes on mymassapil.com, by the way.
And I just want to show you, before you serve the cake, if you bring it out to the table, you can put a little garnish on, whether it be some fresh fruit, or my favorite standby is some confectioner's sugar. Now, you don't shake the strainer over it like that. You move it and you tap it against your hand. You don't tap your hand against it, you tap it against your hand, so you get a level amount on there. And I like to paint the plate a little bit, and also painting the countertop.
So it's okay if you get messy, right? Okay.
Absolutely, because this is just going to look so nice all over the cake. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to do it on the plate itself. So I just wanted to cut
I'm interested to see a cross-section of it because of the way we layered it. I'm really intrigued to see how it turned out.
So am I. So actually you can see like that.
Looks great.
And just how nicely that came out. So I'm just going to put that there. And actually I'm going to show you 2 ways to display this. One of them is that way, one of them is straight up. And then again, you can do this with the however you want to do that.
Just gives it that little extra touch of class.
It does. And so would you like to try some?
Absolutely, I would.
Oh my
now,
goodness.
also, we have here, which we can't forget about,
Nope.
some amazing baked apples.
Exactly. And since they're warm right out of the oven, nothing says, oh my, like a little bit of the local Maple Valley Creamery ice cream
Oh my.
on top.
My.
I'm going to try this apple cake. Is that okay?
Oh,
You do
please
that.
do.
Oh,
And so it's
so
that
good.
simple, and you can see it's already starting to melt. And it's not just the lights here in the kitchen.
No, it's not. Now, these are both pretty easy to make. This one takes time, the apple cake, but it's absolutely worth it.
It's right. It's not. It doesn't take time in that it's a lot of technique. It takes time because there are a few steps: peeling and cutting the apples. Oh, the cake is okay.
It's absolutely worth it. It is so good.
Good, good.
Chef Bill,
my
thank you so much.
goodness.
Oh, and,
Thank
and
you.
people forgot, the best kind of apples to use for both of these recipes are?
My personal favorite is a Golden Delicious,
Okay.
but Northern Spy, Makun, Fuji. Good baking apples are apples that you like. Just make sure it's a firm apple. You don't want it to turn to mush in the cake.
Right.
Good
This
point.
is so good.
And if people go apple picking out there, most of all the employees, you say, I'm looking for good baking apples, they'll tell you what you need.
You know, that's exactly it. You
Hopefully
go
they
to the
know.
local orchards, and you even ask what their favorites are, and they always have advice. And that old internet thing, you look up,
heard
if
about
you just
that.
do the Google thing, and you look up baking apples or whatnot, you get it, but they cover the whole world. So some might not be available in New England, but they're all there.
Thanks,
Chef
Chef Bill.
Thank you.
so
Thanks
much.
for sharing the
Once
recipes.
again, mymassapil.com is the place to go for all things recipes.